Hello and thanks for staying with us. This is Focus Nigeria. My name is Amechi Anakwu. Apologies for starting behind schedule. History was made on Tuesday when the Enugu State Electricity Regulatory Commission assumed full regulatory oversight of the union. But before all this, let's quickly update you with the big issues in the news. And PDP governors, they met late Tuesday night.
Doctors, entertainers, and students, amongst others. They are from the diaspora, and they say they are ready to come back home, ready to invest. They also want to be identified as citizens, especially as they have through DNA traced their origins to Nigeria and other African countries.
It will require the coming together of Africans in the diaspora and Africans who are here to merge our resources, our intellect, our knowledge, our spirituality, our cultural values together.
President of the African Diaspora Union, Chidiebere Ogbu, explained that granting rights to diasporans who are descendants of citizens sold into slavery is an opportunity that Nigeria and indeed Africa should leverage.
They are not coming here to be liabilities. Most of them are made. Most of them have employees.
Chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri, reaffirmed calls by the Nigerian government for diaspora engagement in national development, explaining that the president is committed to empowering the diaspora to contribute effectively and maximizing the value of diaspora contribution to Nigeria's development.
And as Africa begins this, we hope that it's going to get better next year with partnership with them. This should not be just a talk shop. We want you to have a spiritual connection with the motherland, an emotional connection with the motherland, a physical connection with the motherland, and an economic connection with the motherland.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Let's kick straight into our second discuss. Professor Chidiebere Ogbu, President, African Diaspora Union, joins me now. As many Africans in diaspora are going back home, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I record Israelis trying to get back to their land and the 40-year sojourn in the wilderness. Now, these Africans have found themselves across the world, right?
Yes.
And they have somehow used of DNA traced their descent back to Nigeria. Tell us more about this move by Africans in Africans Diaspora Union to chitrace their roots back to the country. And it's happening at a time many Nigerians are moving in opposite direction, the Japa syndrome.
Well, that you are talking about migration when it comes to the Japa syndrome. But this one, we are talking about people who were originally Africans and who were kidnapped, forcefully taken out of their home.
By way of slave trade?
By way of, slave trading. And we know that the transatlantic slavery had its epicenter in Nigeria, especially from the Middle Belt to southern Nigeria. That's the epicenter of the whole of the transatlantic slavery in West Africa. Ghana was only an outlet. And some of the countries like the present southern Cameroon.
Is that why they call it the slave coast?
Yeah, of course. Because that's where the ship takes from. And that's
they
why
aggregate from various parts of the Atlantic coast and keep them
exactly
to the coast
from
in Ghana.
the southern Cameroon, which was former eastern Nigeria, and the whole of the present Republic of Benin, some Togo, and some, you know, the whole of them, they ship them. You could see in the Bayelsa, there are some areas in Bayelsa, you see that they were like a door of no return. But then the door of no return, they take them into Gold Coast, into Cape Coast in Ghana. From there, they ship them outrightly to the New World, where some of them to Europe, some of them to America, and you see now
the Caribbean, West Indies.
Now you're talking about the Caribbean. They later found themselves there because their job was to deal with the plantation and the rest of them. Now you could see that there are some who could not survive it. Some were.
That's the trip or the slavery in the New World.
First, the trip from the time they were hijacked, kidnapped, raped, abused, and all manner of things. From that moment, there are those who could not survive it. Some of them were also...
And we learned those that couldn't survive it, they were thrown overboard, their dead bodies.
Of course, they were thrown into the sea. A lot of things happened to them. Let me analyze it so that you understand. Okay. Peradventure, you and I are siblings. And we own lands together, which we inherited from our fathers, and we live together in our home. Suddenly, either as a result of some manipulations, uncles or chiefs or whatever conspired, and now take you out. They took you out and took some other family members out. First, with the treatment, the beatings, and everything they gave you, they dehumanize you. You lost your dignity. You lost your citizenship because you are taken away from your home. You lost your inheritance. Now you are taking it to somewhere else, where the issue of identity crisis began, which you don't know where you come from again.
Even when you have the national passports of countries where you have found yourself.
Now, there was no national passports in those days. But they know where they came from. And their generations, the ancestors were able to tell their children, this is where we came from. Some of them who managed to survive were able to tell their stories to the generations.
So fast forward to this day, their descendants who are settled, Americans, Haitians, name it, Europeans.
The Caribbean, South America.
So they are not comfortable with being attached to these countries. They were rooting to get back to their roots.
How can you be comfortable when you are reminded that, you came from a slavery, you came from a slavery background. You are not an original. They built America, built Europe, built the rest of the places, yet they still have identity crisis. When America suddenly had Barack Obama as president, now, considering that he is a black person, other black people, they were happy. But those who knew that Obama was only a migrant, he didn't come from the background of the slavery, knew that he
wasn't
going
to... His father was a migrant.
Yes. They knew that he wasn't going to do much for them. And for the white folks to support Obama getting there is because they knew that he didn't come from the background of the slavery.
So the African Americans would have preferred someone whose descendants were taken away from Africa,
of course,
to have got into...
Africans who owned the land with them before, but they were taken out.
There's some of us down here now.
Yes. Now, sometimes they invite them for, come and invest in our land, come and invest in this one and everything. And they don't look at how they them to come into a land that should have belonged to all of them.
So
to
it should have been
invest.
come and invest in your homeland.
Of course, first of all, that's why they are clamoring for. First of all, take us in as citizens, not as tourists.
That's the demand the union is making on the Nigerian government now?
Of
now,
course.
how did they get to find out? I know it's through DNA, but provide further information on that. How did they get to find out that they were originally from Nigeria?
Okay, first of all, there are those of them who, when you meet them, you realize they say, no, our grandfather told us we are from here, and we've gone to do our DNA test. This one told us we are from here, we've gone to do. In 2019, when the president of Ghana declared 2019 as the year of the return of the diaspora, I was privileged to be there. And I happened to be the one that did the opening prayer on the wall of the return. Now, we had all the, all the discussions and the, interface with all of them. The Ghana people, we are telling them, every black person comes from Ghana. Every
That was
diaspora.
not the right narrative.
That was a very wrong one, because we know it was wrong, and I oppose it. And that was when I began to, send in official proposal, and later a report I got to, Honorable Dr. Chidiebere. By then, she was an advisor to Buhari on diaspora matters. But then she didn't understand what we were working on. So until this time. So we began to say, okay, let African Diaspora Union 5 days on their own. Maybe or peradventure, the Nigerian government will come to understand. So, and moreover, Nigerian government being the big brother for Africans and the black nations, it will be worthwhile that they will be amongst, because already there are other African countries, in the Republic of Benin, Rwanda, and some of them that has passed, a bill to receive these African descendants into their countries as citizens. So what stops Nigeria from doing that?
Where are we towards that regard?
Well, yesterday we had we paid a courtesy visit at the National Assembly. Some of our leaders from the US and everything, who are also the African descendants, we paid a courtesy visit to Senator Ned Nwoke and and Senator Ume, who is Ume is the chairman committee of the diaspora, the committee, and which is and the Ned himself is the chairman on reparations. So to discuss, and we asked them to push a bill to enable the African descendants to be welcomed back
as
home.
Citizens.
As citizens.
So why
Nigerians
Nigerians are craving for second passports? British passport, US passport, Canadian passports. Africans in diaspora who have these passports are also craving for Nigerian passports.
I will tell you something. Most people do not understand the strategic position of Nigeria. Now people are saying all manner of things that Nigeria is finished, Nigeria is, they don't know that Nigeria is being cooked on the ground. I'm sorry, may I use this analysis? Like the scripture will always say, until a seed falls to the ground and dies, that's when it will germinate and grows to, bring up fruits. Nigeria is a seed that is known, that is going to become one of the superpowers globally. But it had just fallen on the ground and died. And when a seed dies, that's when you sow it. It appears nothing is happening, but something is happening underground. So Nigeria is still cooking underground because something will surely happen. People want Nigerian passport. Americans, Canadians, Europeans, Caribbeans, South Americans, people are proud to be Nigerians. And when they go, they tell you this, African people, even if they might trace their route to Republic of Benin or Togo or whatever, they say, no, I'm a Nigerian.
How verifiable are these DNA tracks? Because the government may be wary of, we can't throw our doors and begin to issue passport to every Tom, Dick, and Harry.
I would tell you, see, when you go for DNA tests, even some of Nigerians who do the Japa syndrome, some of them going to Canada, going to US and everything.
All of them do DNA.
Now they have
their family members.
Ended up doing DNA tests. And sometimes you find out that whoever you think that is your father is not your father. So it's the same DNA that even the current scientific and the technology now could trace you to say, I found my DNA, I've been able to do it, I'm from Nigeria. In fact, I saw that I'm a Yoruba. So disease can be traced. Some of them have their disease handy.
Yes, some of the celebrities in U.S. have said openly, we are from Nigeria.
Exactly.
And even going down to be a bit specific.
Exactly.
So what roles, how should the Nigerian government harness all this? You appear to be taking the initiative to say, we want to come back. What more can the government do? And when you come back and get this passport, how can you contribute to national development?
These guys are scientists. These guys are experts, investors. These guys are everything in technology. They built the United States. They built the Canada, built Europe, built everywhere. They are the ones who wants to come back. They want to replicate what they did there. And I know that if the Nigerian government would be able to understand the roles these guys are going to play.
Beyond the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, beyond what they are doing?
The Nigerian Diaspora Commission focuses on Nigerians in diaspora. Initially, that's what it looks like, as if it's a conflict. No, these are Africans in diaspora.
Nigerians that migrated.
Nigerians that migrated
diaspora.
Into the diaspora.
This one is different.
This one is different. This one is only focusing on the African descendants, not even Africans that migrated. Yeah. The African descendants who found out many years, 400, 500, we call them historic African diasporas. So it's a quite different thing. But the government said we will collaborate.
Which one do you belong to? Is it the African descendants or Nigerians in diaspora?
No, it's the African descendants. The African Diaspora Union, that's what we are handling. That's what we're focusing globally. In fact, it will be difficult for you to mention any important black nation in the globe where Afridu is not in.
How strong is that union in, for instance, U.S., Canada? Because I know what the Jewish lobby groups' interest does in America's both domestic and foreign policy.
The Israel, you say, we have an ambassador, Afridu ambassador in Israel, who is in charge of Middle East. We have the one who is in charge, U.S., Canada. We have the one in charge, U.S., Latin America. We have the one, the Caribbean. We have Europe. We are everywhere. And we have diplomatic administrators, so we have special envoys everywhere. It took us time to build because we know we want to connect the whole blacks together. And the whole blacks, where they're focusing, first, Nigeria. Let me tell you a secret. When we began this, we knew it was going to be difficult, and moreover, Nigerian government will also want people that will be very helpful to them. So we didn't go to the people in the streets. We started with the black chambers of commerce.
The business, private sector.
The business investors
Have
and
you
everything.
connected with them?
Of course, you see the adverts we are rolling. Today we are starting an investment summit, global investment summit at the Eagle Square. Go there now. People are coming. Many chambers of commerce across Nigeria registered, and they all flew in because they saw we are connected. But in America, Canada, and the rest of them, you see our adverts because their leaders are here. The president, CEO, either Daliway Black Chamber of Commerce, President CEO, State of Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce, President CEO, National Black Chamber of Commerce, and all of them. We brought them together. So we didn't just go to ordinary people. We went to people that can reach to people that can reach to other people.
So how do you influence the policies of your host governments? I don't know whether to call it home now because you have double home. Whether your host governments, how are you influencing their policies to favor your homeland?
Well, first of all, my homeland need to recognize what we're doing, to know that we are strategically positioned to help. Secondly, the people you call my host, because now my host
I don't know whether I'm right or wrong.
Now, if you say my host, it's not just South Africa, all of them in different countries. They are aware of African Diaspora Union, and they are aware of this new black consciousness movement to get back to their motherland. They know, and they only want to partner. That's all.
Okay. This X comment is coming from NSCD Africa, and it says, Czech Association of African Descendants Worldwide, where, of course, they are setting the pace for the upbuilding of the new African civilization and development agenda for Africa. Is this still part of you?
No.
Okay. He said we should check it up. Yeah, he provided a link. We'll check it up and see whether it's affiliated or whether it's a different one. But as we go now, we are, of course, delighted to welcome you back home. Sometimes we call it homeland, sometimes fatherland, sometimes motherland. Which one should be the most appropriate?
Well, I am not an Englishman, because the Englishman, at some point, they will say fatherland, at some point, they will say motherland, but we know that they create the language. As a preacher, I'm an Archbishop.
Okay.
Sometimes when I get into countries and I want to preach, and when I see how they behave, I will tell them, if my accent is not clear enough, and if I use the wrong language, please talk to Queen Elizabeth, because they are the ones who fabricate English language.
I'm forcing down your throat.
So, for me, what they put down, but they call it motherland.
Motherland. Which one do you prefer?
It's motherland.
Motherland.
Yes. Because she's the woman that gives birth. And moreover, from where they come from, a man doesn't own children. A woman owns children.
And it's the woman that will tell you who your father is.
Of course.
Quite interesting. That's a good one for women folk. At least